My museum encompasses the struggle of a colored individual of African Caribbean descent growing up in the 21st century. With references from the course material of the Black Atlantic, I have constructed an idea what I would put in my museum if I could tell the story of my experience in Toronto through my lens. I would like to preface by saying the word black has historically been used to not only miscategorize colored people, but is used in negative connotation when attached to other words, such as blackmail, blacklisted, black sheep, blackballed. There's many terms in association with the word black that is negative. So with saying that in efforts to appreciate the work and cultures of colored people, I will be referring to myself as well as African Canadians as colored throughout this project. Thanks to efforts by Echo Ashun and his work with the Black Atlantic, he did a spin on the commonly used word black and twisted it in a positive sense, describing the history involved with the immigration of black migrants into Europe. And it's done wonders towards the black community and has inspired me to create this museum that encompasses my personal experience as well as my colored companions as well as other colored people in the city. I made a map outlined. It's quite rough, but it still encompasses exactly what a map would be, and it follows the similar map displayed in class, covering the museum in London, in England. Right when you open the doors, dead center, I'll have the main exhibit that encapsulates some sort of conveyor belt mechanism, akin to what was brought up in class when looking at the Charlie Chaplin film. On this conveyor belt will be a complex story in the form of miniature figurines that represent the life of a colored person in Toronto and how the unique qualities it encompasses. I chose to put this as the forefront due to the fact that, at minimum, I would like audiences to leave with the idea that colored people alike have similar upbringings no matter where they grow up in the city, and although it might be mildly uncomfortable due to its brutality, I would display through the paths of colored people that I have to overcome at a young age up until adulthood, but hopefully the discomfort will lead to change for the better. Here I'll be breaking down each of the exhibits, and they all offer a different element within the city, but all have the same common interest, which is the development of colored persons in Toronto. Scarborough. Scarborough is a melting pot with diverse cultures consisting of new immigrants as well as first-generation children seeking to fulfill their parents' dreams. Although Scarborough has their own sub-neighborhoods within distinct cultures, this exhibit would consist of major cultural buildings such as the Scarborough Town Center, many strip plazas, and small bungalow-style homes that make up the area of Toronto. Scarborough has been and is continuing space that allows those of color not to feel as they're sticking out, as there's cultures from Sri Lanka, the Caribbean, West, as well as East Africa. In terms of aroma, I believe that incense would be appropriate as it's reminiscent of small stores on the plaza strips, common amongst previously listed cultures. Now, what I mean by aroma, in these exhibits, I'll be having different scents or styles of music depending on the exhibit, all the reason that I would want to immerse audience members into these areas. Jane and Finch. This area for the most of the 21st century has been considered the most unsafe area in the city by news due to the numerous reports of gun violence. Underneath these acts of violence is a rich Caribbean culture that has been home to many black children seeking to make it out of the hood, in which they're surrounded by gang activity. Rather than an aroma in this exhibit, I'd have Caribbean music quietly playing in the background. Now, although previously I noted I wasn't going to use the word black, but in this context, Jane and Finch has had such a negative connotation with the association with the word black. I would like to emphasize that this was the history, and as ugly as it is, it's the truth, and through looking at this exhibit, hopefully audience members would leave with a better understanding of the area. Alexandra Park. Unbeknownst to me, whilst accumulating research in pursuit to fulfill the concept of the colored experience in Toronto, I came to understand that Alexandra Park, near Bathurst and Dundas, was home to immigrated African Canadians as a place that had affordable housing. Unfortunately, gang activity riddled this great neighborhood, situated right next to Toronto's Chinatown area and is a blend of Asia as well as African Caribbean cultures, a true representation of colored experience. In this particular exhibit, I'd have no music nor aroma, but photos filmed with kids playing amongst each other and their parents walking by, crossing the street, a common action used to avoid danger, something ever so familiar to the colored individual. So in some of these photos, they may be manufactured, but it's simply to encompass the idea that even at a young age, colored individuals are seen as bad influences on other cultures, and this isn't necessarily specific to white individuals. All cultures in the 21st century, post 2000, have been scared of colored individuals, and hopefully this exhibit will change that. Danforth. This east side area is known for its Ethiopian and Eritrean cultures with a plethora of restaurants on the street, and has an understated history, as it once had a high school called Eastern Commerce Collegiate Institute, which had the top basketball program in the country, with many alumni actually making it to the NBA, with a predominantly colored population. It has since shut down, but is still up in the neighborhood. I know this because my father went there. I would split this exhibit in two with a combination of coffee scent as the aroma of the 2000s hip-hop instrumentals to represent Eastern Commerce Collegiate Institute, and to show that Danforth isn't only just about Greektown. Regent Park. Currently, Regent Park is a product of gentrification and is completely turned from an area riddled with drugs, gang activity, and violence to a new modern look. Whether this is good or bad is something that will be left in the eyes of the public. I wanted this exhibit to represent the dichotomy of whether it's okay to tamper with deep culture and wash it away when there's criminal activity involved. There's an amateur documentary on the development of Regent Park on YouTube that I had trouble finding, but if I would be able to find it, I'd have that in loop in the exhibit, because I believe that it encapsulates the idea very well of the difference between gentrification and washing away cultures. Little Jamaica. Last but not least, I would have a rhythm of reggae music playing in the background with photos of classic Jamaican food spots such as Randy's and Raps. I'd also have the aroma of jerk chicken if that was possible, but I would not want to attract all the audiences to one exhibit, as it tends to attract crowds with its infectious scent. Little Jamaica has just began its early productions in gentrification, but as of now, still holds up. This is all to say that the experience of colored people in Toronto is quite diverse, yet follows the same system, the system that has led to lack of change in allowing minorities in places of economic, socio-culture, or community positions to make real change. Most times, colored people are hired as publicity stunts and are not offered real reins to make actual change. This is to say that the word quote-unquote black is not negative, it's simply misconstrued. And until the word is expressed in a positive manner universally, I'll continue to try to use other ways of describing it, such as dark or colored, in order to uplift the word. Going to Comn right at Bathurst and Dundas, right next to Alexandra Park, for some help with math. Going to get some patties with my brother at Eglinton and West, or even get my hair cut there, even to this day. And even living in Regent Park for over a month while my house is under construction. I've had a lot of experiences around all of these different neighborhoods growing up, and what I can say is that there's a common balance between character and life amongst all, and unfortunately, this is something that people outside of the colored culture will be able to notice. And this is what my museum's purpose is for. It's to bring people to light.